Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today we are going to experiment a bit. And now I have taken a piece of black mat board that I've gessoed and I painted on it with some Derwent pastel paints, metallic paints, and Inktense paints to get this kind of mottled background. So I'm experimenting on using basically watercolors on a clear gessoed surface. And I'm also going to try the Derwent artist pencils. I've never used those before and I'm really curious about them, so I wanted to kind of see what those were all about. And also I have a class coming up at michaels.com/classes this week. It will be on Thursday the 19th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Cost is $20, and this is the project we're going to do. When you purchase a class, you will get a template to print out and bring to class. You'll need to bring either a piece of like black pastel paper or watercolor paper or a piece of black mat board. You don't have to clear gesso it, but you can clear gesso it. I would recommend it if you have clear gesso, but you don't need to. And we're going to experiment with different backgrounds. We are going to paint this together, and I'm going to show you a lot of time-saving techniques for your colored pencils. So you can click the link in the video description to see the class listing and to enroll if you'd like to. You will get a recording the next day. So if you can't make it, or it doesn't matter, you're going to get that recording emailed to you the next day anyway. So, you know, you could do the project again and again and again if you want to. And there is a materials list there. I'll be using Derwent Lightfast pencils, and there is a list of colors I'm using, but you can use any pencil you like. Something that's just kind of on the opaque side. So so look through your stash and see what you have if you don't have those exact pencils, because I know it is getting close to the class. The reason I wanted to mention it is because the class filled up the first day I mentioned it, but then Michaels decided to raise the limit on their premium classes, the attendance limit across the board, so there's some more spaces now if you'd like to join us. So we have a lot of fun in these classes, and I hope you can make it. All right, I'm just going to start by sketching on. I've got this Chinese white pencil here. I've never used these pencils before. I've used the old Derwent Studio pencils, and I always found them to be a little bit harder than what I liked, but I was really curious about these because I've recently been enjoying the Pro Color pencils, and they're very hard lead, so I'm like, I think I want to give these a try. So I'm just sketching on with this white. There's like a dandelion fluff that I'm drawing, just the fluffy part. Now this is I'm working on a textured surface, so I don't have too much room for error. I don't think I'll be able to erase on this because it is, you know, it's textured. I've got paint down. I don't know like how forgiving that would be if I were to erase it, so I'm just going to try to be really deliberate about what I draw here. So I'm going to put in the... Oh, this is working out pretty well. Boy, these don't seem as hard as I thought they were going to be. When people have always talked about the Derwent artist pencils, they say how hard they are, but I think they're pretty good. I'll zoom in a little bit. I'm hesitant to zoom in too much because sometimes when I zoom in too much, my camera wants to go out of focus. Well, that seems to be working out all right. I get a little bit of green into these. You know, I think it might also be the surface, because I've noticed like with the Pro Colors, I love using them on a sanded surface, and clear gesso, Liquitex clear gesso has that that sanded quality to it when you paint it on paper. It's really just really amazing, honestly. And I'm going to tell you, seriously, just to open up the box, I have not even sharpened these pencils. They just have the factory sharpening on them. This one is called Blue Gray. I generally don't even pay much attention to what colors I'm using. I just go by how they look, and I always look at the leads, because I find that if I look at the lead, I get a much better representation, and that's with any brand of pencils, to be honest. Let's see. I see almost like a little bit of a reddish brown in there, so I'm going to grab some of that. And that will also stand up, I think, a little bit on the background. I'm really just experimenting because this is such a kind of a crazy background. I wasn't even going to use the background for anything. I was just seeing if I could use the watercolors on the mat board. I didn't know if it would work or not, so I really didn't have any high hopes for it. And now I'm just kind of, I'm not going to stick to a limited palette or anything. I'm just going to play. Ooh, this is a beautiful color. This is called Burnt Carmine. That's gorgeous. Now the Derwent Artists line is the largest range that Derwent has for pencils with 120. I have the 72 tin. I think if you want to buy the 120 in a set, you need to get the wooden box. I don't have any of the wooden boxes. Wooden boxes are so pretty, but I gotta tell you, they become real precious when I get stuff, when I get a set of something in a wooden box. It's like I don't want to use it because then I'm going to be like making the set like not perfect and beautiful anymore. So it's like I got to get my my sketchy looking tins, and I got to put them in jars and stuff, so I'll use them. I could definitely use to sharpen these a little bit, but I'm just having fun. I'm making this fluff come out a little bit. So I'm going to do is it a damselfly or a dragonfly? I think it might be a damselfly with the way that the wings are resting. So we'll get to sketching that off in a minute. But basically I chose it because it's a little more simple than the vein dragonfly wings that we have going on in the paid class. And I thought I could probably do it for YouTube at a shorter time frame, because videos that are a little bit shorter do better on YouTube for me. And I just, if I'm putting a tutorial out there, I like for the most people to be able to come to see it as possible. So makes me feel like I'm spending my time wisely when I do that. I might put a few little, I love this color. I might put a few little, like little dandelions kind of floofing off into the wind. I'll probably do the fluff. Maybe one over here. I like to balance stuff out. This is fun, man. I'm having a great time. Oh, I was just remarking the other day that like I feel better than I had, and I had never felt really bad, but I'm telling you, I feel 20 years younger these days. I don't know why, but I feel great. I hope you do too. There. I'll probably do more to that. I think that I need to have a little bit of blue in that fluff too, and I think I'll just, see, this is kind of the color that I want, but I think if I put that down, it's going to be too weak. Let's just try it and see, because it's really light. So I think I need to, because I already have that white down, I need to go in with something a little bit bolder. So let's see. Let's try this. It almost looks like a cobalt. Let's see what it's called. This is called Spectrum Blue. I like the feel of these pencils too. They're nice and thick. And the studios, because I had the studios a long time ago, which I think they said they had the same leads as the artists, but they had like a thinner hexagonal barrel, and I like the rounder barrels myself. I mean, yeah, they can roll off the table, but I just like the round barrels. I almost see a little bit of purple in that part of the flower, but I'll get to that later. Now, while I've got this blue, I think I'll start sketching my damselfly. And I'm going to start with its head right about here. So when I'm sketching, oh, that's a pretty color. When I'm sketching on like a background like this, I will, I'm going to go a little smaller than what I think I'm going to need, because sometimes you get a little bit of a creep. Things grow a little bit as you're refining and stuff. And I want to know that if I do that, I hope that's showing up. I know it's on such a busy background. And when that happens, you just gotta, you want to kind of be prepared to be able to bring it, you know, you want to have a little room to grow without having you know, you don't have to make the dragonfly way too big, because, you know, your line's got a little sloppy. Now I need to make a line kind of going up about like that. Okay, might even end up a little bit longer, but I don't want to get it too long in case once I get my wings in there I realize, oh no, I had that long enough before, you know what I mean? While I'm at it, I'm going to grab a little bit of green and something nice and vibrant like this beautiful, it's probably grass green. This is called May Green. And I'm going to go in and, oh, look how that shows up. This must be the Liquitex gesso. I had done some experimenting because I bought some gesso I didn't like. and it didn't work very well, and so I was like adding baking soda to it, which helped. So if you do get gesso that you don't like, try adding some baking soda to it. But anyway, I couldn't remember if I had kept the boards that I primed with that or if I just got rid of them because I didn't like them. I think this is Liquitex for sure. All right, well, a little bit of purple. I tend to put down the colors that I've used on my, like, out of the tin while I'm using it, so if I have to go back to a color, I kind of know what it was. I'm actually going to use this kind of more magenta color because it will mix with the blue and give me a little bit of a purpley hue. And then legs, we got to get our legs. I'm just going to do them in magenta because that's not going to show up quite as much if I decide that I don't like it. This guy's got a lot of legs. Alright, I'm going to go in with the blue though because I'm getting confused now with all the lines that I have going. There. I don't think I need to like put everything in perfectly. I just need to kind of insinuate where everything is. So now we've got to get our wings done. There's kind of these little coppery colored things in here. They're probably where the wings are attaching. So I'm just going to make these little dots there. Looks like we got about 4 of them. Maybe they're like shoulders or hinges or something. And we've got 2 wings, so I'm going to start with the bottom one, and it's going to come to about here with a curved line, and then it's going to come back out here, and it's going to swoop under, and it's going to come back up. There's one. And the other one, it's going to start up here and kind of swoop in there and meet that one, and then maybe just have a little bit of a double line there. Okay. All right, we're doing pretty good. Gosh, I hope that's showing up enough for you. And I'm going to sharpen this, so if you have headphones in, take them out. All right. Oh, that sharpened beautifully. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put in I'm actually going to turn my work so it's a little bit easier for me to do. Now, one of the reasons I was thinking about using the Derwent Artist was because I figured I could get some pretty fine lines and kind of dent the paper a bit. I don't know if I'm able to just kind of turning my thing a half turn as I go to try to keep it nice and sharp. Now, a sanded or like gesso paper will wear down your pencil a little bit quicker, so just kind of keep that in mind. Now, this can come a little bit further now that I got the wing in there, I know. I know kind of how far I can go with that. I love how the color looks. Look at that, you can layer up, it's so nice. Now, I don't necessarily want to put tons of detail. I want to get some. Alright, so now I think I'm going to need either black or super duper dark purple. I'll try the dark purple first, and if that's not dark enough, then I can go in with the black. A little bit. What I'm going to do here is just kind of put some of these darker areas in that I see. Not tons of detail, just kind of patching it in. Some of the little kind of segment areas, the lines in between the segments. And I'm going to see what happens if I do a little bit of like working on the edge. Oh yeah, I like the way that looks. You can kind of see it's giving us kind of a dusty effect. That's the sandiness of the surface. And then our brighter blue lines are showing up fine because we kind of pressed them in and I'm working on the edge, so it's kind of skipping over those lines. All right. I'm going to tap that over my trash. Get the rest of that dust in. Now I think I'll go with a lighter blue and add some lighter areas in. Some of the areas that haven't had any pencil on them yet, we'll really grab this lighter blue area and really make it bright. Brighten up some of the back areas here. And I mean, this is really just kind of like sketching, honestly. I'm not going to get too fussy with anything. I think I'll even go in with a bit of a brighter blue. Excuse me. Ooh, look how bright that is next to the background. Now, when you're going to do a background with pencil, I highly recommend, or honestly, if you're going to do a background with anything, I highly recommend putting it in first. Because what happens when you wait and put your background in later, like especially if you're working on black, you get your thing drawn and you go in to put your background in and you could end up with all of your level, all of your values being completely off because you were drawing that with a black background, and then you put like a mid-tone background in there and everything looks really washed out. So I like to get those backgrounds in first so that I have that kind of base of reference already. All right, we're doing great. We're only 17 minutes in. We've got this much done. Now I'm going to take black and I'm going to sharpen this. Ah, oh, beautiful, beautiful sharpening. And now I'm just going to kind of go through and start adding some details. Got some black to the front here. Tiny little antennas up there, hardly. They actually have little furs. Little furs on the back there. I'm looking for any little shadows. Can even throw a little bit of detail in here to help it kind of break away from that really bold, that really kind of bold background that we have. Just try to avoid the urge to just outline everything. You don't want to outline everything, you just want to kind of bring some areas into a little bit more focus. Adding like harsh lines up here on like the body can help it get that kind of reflected look. Define the wing up there a little bit where it's connected. I'm probably kind of, I'm probably pushing a little bit harder than I should just because I am working fast, so, and because these pencils are a little bit firmer than I'm used to. I mean, they're not as hard as I expected them to be, though, to be honest. But I like to have bold colors, so I tend to probably push a little bit more than I need to. And grab some white. And I think now I'm actually going to grab a softer set of pencils and go and add some details on top. So I think I'll probably just grab my ChromaFlows because I have them handy, and we'll work from there. Okay, I am back. I have swapped out my pencils, and if you don't have ChromaFlow, any sort of opaque softer pencil, Color Soft would work really well. It really doesn't matter. Use what you like, to be honest. These pencils, the ChromaFlows, are very similar to Prismacolor, so if you like those, especially if you live somewhere where it's difficult to get Prismacolor, they are a really nice option. And I think the price is going to go down on them once they get to once they get shipped out to all the stores. Generally, when you have a new product, they come out kind of at a higher price point, and also until like all of the stores that want to sell them get them, it's going to be a little bit more expensive, or maybe even only available from the manufacturer. And when that happens, the manufacturer doesn't want to, undercut their, their retailers, so they'll be at like regular retail price. Now I'm using a gel pen just to kind of get just kind of those edges. And I'm just experimenting, I'm just playing, so I'm not, really worried about, anything really. I'm having a good time. Often, if I'm like spending hours on a painting, if I'm spending, half an hour on this? If I'm spending a long time on a painting, I will often like mix up some brush and pencil, titanium white, and touch-up texture, but this is just kind of an experimental piece here, so I'm not going to worry about that too much. And the reason for that is that sometimes, like, a gel pen could flake off. I don't think it's that much of a danger on this piece, just because we've got such a textured surface, and I think that it's going to grab everything. I'm just going to go ahead and do some shiny highlights with this right now, or places I don't think I'm going to need to go back in. Because if I do go colored pencil on top of the gel pen, it will probably scrape off. But yeah, as long as it happens while I'm working on it, that's not a big deal. If it I wouldn't want it to happen while it's like, if I had sold it to somebody. But I don't anticipate selling this. I anticipate just having fun drawing it. One thing I like about doing the gel pen over pencil like this for wings is that it just naturally wants to skip. And I think when you've got that natural skipping, it can kind of look like little, you know how a dragonfly has, it's not just lines going horizontally like I have it. There's actually also vertical lines in that it's almost like a web. If you look at the wings. And so I think when I do this here, when the ink skips, it kind of gives me that look like the, like there's some vertical lines there because it breaks up the horizontal line. I don't know if that makes any sense. And when my thing stops going, because like you can see it picked up some of the watercolor from underneath, so I just scribble it on my hand. And hopefully there's no like long-term health effects from doing that. I don't think so. But I just like how I can bring that pen across like that, and I just get this little kind of broken line, because then it kind of gives me that little glistening look that I want. And if I get too much, I'll go over it with a pencil, and some of it will get covered up and some will scrape away, and that is fine. Yeah, that's definitely picking up the watercolor from our background. which I think is really kind of a neat effect. I mean, not that it's picking up the watercolor, but that, like, the watercolor that we did the background in watercolor. And I'll be able to wash that off my hands, so don't worry. Seems like something my teachers would tell me, don't do that, you'll get lead poisoning. Well, I am 45 and I've never gotten lead poisoning. Then again, a scrap piece of paper is probably a better idea, so just go ahead and use, look at that, that wing stands up so much more now. I love it, I love it, love it, love it. This is great. What a great warm-up for my class. So I hope you consider joining me for that class if you want to learn some more colored pencil. We have a good time in those classes. All right, so let's see. We've got a lot of really pretty colors here. I think that I'm going to try some of this this pretty turquoise green. This color is also in the original Chroma Flow set of 24 anyway. I can't remember if it's in the 12 or not. I don't have too many places I can put it in there, to be honest. Ooh, this is pretty. Something like this, you know, you're not spending a super huge amount of time on is nice because then you can feel kind of free to experiment a little bit if you know you're not ruining something that you've spent hours and hours on. Ooh, man, that purple, that's something. I'm using the light fast in the class because we will be spending a little more time on that. We'll be spending an hour and a half. And that's one thing I would recommend, though. If you're like really concerned with light fastness in your artwork, the Derwent Light Fast pencils have some of the prettiest purples that you will ever find, and they're light fast, and that's hard to get a light fast purple pencil. So, you know, you don't have to buy a set. Sets are expensive, but you might say, geez, I wish I had a more light fast purple, and you can just buy this, well, it's not this one, but I think it's called Imperial Violet. Is a really pretty one in Derwent Light Fast. They also have a Derwent Red in Derwent Light Fast that's really, really nice. So one thing I need to pay attention to when I am doing this is my background. I've got so many colors in that background, so because I was just seeing what the colors would do, I wasn't really thinking about putting artwork over it. So I really need to make sure I have some contrast, because otherwise it just it blends into the background too much. Let me get a black pencil here. So I can, the background also is very mid-tone. So I can go either lighter or I can go darker. So I went really light with the fluff there. And now I'm going kind of dark on the body of the bug here. I can throw in some darker areas for the markings on the wing. But whatever I can do to like break this apart from the background. Even having this done, you know, even having the background in, it was still a bit of a challenge, because I've got some things that are darker and some things that are lighter, and I want this to, and I want it to show up. And when you have something iridescent like the body of a bug, you can have really bright lights and then really dark. So you kind of have a little bit of value range to play in. I'm just going to drag in some little white marks to break that apart. Now I could do some just little vertical marks as well to kind of show the lattice work of the of the pattern. Oh, something that's really pretty is that on some of these, like some of the, I don't know what you call them, the things on the wings, there's like dots where the highlights are kind of catching. It kind of makes it look like it might have a little bit of dew on it, or it's just the way the wings. It's like when you look at a window screen, and do you ever, like when you were a kid, or have you ever done this, like you have a window screen in your bedroom window and it gets a hole in it? And I say as a kid because adults seem to figure out how not to put holes in their window screens, but anyway, and you put some nail polish on the window screen, or even on like pantyhose or something like that to keep it from running. That's kind of what this reminds me of. That was a little bit of a cast highlight on the bottom of the body. I'm just going to get that little bit of a halo effect. Whatever you can do to give it a little contrast from the background. Remember, this is your painting. You can go a little whimsical with it. Add some highlights here. Now, something else you can do is you could add a shadow to anything that's really bright. If you're like, geez, I wish that was a little bit darker. Where'd our black go? Right here, I think. I think so. Oh, that's coffee bean. Was I using coffee bean? I don't think I was. Here we go. This is black. So if you've got an area where you're like, I really wish that was a little bit darker in the background, you could do a little bit of a shadow, kind of like that. I would try to use very little pressure so that you don't have to, you can just kind of fade it in. You don't have to be too, you don't have to cover everything up. You don't want to have to cover everything up. Because that background's pretty, you know. Maybe I'll do a little bit under the wing here. You could also do this with a pastel, or like a pastel pencil even. Sometimes I'll see like photos that have been edited like this, and you'll have like either a light or a dark kind of halo around something. And sometimes like I'll be looking at reference photos and it won't occur to me right off the bat that that's what they've done. And then it's like, oh, that's why my values are not working out right. It's like, why, how come, you know, and I'll be really confused until I realize, oh, that photo was edited. That's why it looks like that. And you could break down this pigment with a little bit of odorless mineral spirits. Like if it's too much, and you can thin it out, and it should not bother what's in behind, because odorless mineral spirits are not, they won't mess up your watercolor. You know, they should dissolve the pencil without really messing up or really altering what you have there for watercolor. So yeah, don't be afraid. And I think doing quick little experiments like this is really nice, because it can keep you kind of practicing and trying new things. And keep you from getting too fussy. Because if you only spent like half an hour on it, and you know, you're much more likely to to do an experiment or try something if you're not worried about messing up. A little drop shadow on these guys. Our little fluffs. And when you do the pencil on its edge like this, on the sanded surface or a gessoed surface, you can blend it out almost like a pastel with your finger, because it has kind of a powdery effect when you do that. I'm probably being a little sloppy here, but it's really fun. It works really well. And then we get that nice contrast that we want. And really, you can do this with any color. If you're like, oh, I wish I had some more yellow in the background, why didn't I put more yellow? Well, that's not a big deal. You just grab a yellow pencil. And you're like, oh, I got that pretty purple there. I wish I had more yellow to be next to it. So you go in with your yellow and augment it. And if we had just white paper and we wanted to put backgrounds like this in, it would take so long because, you know, you'd have to layer it up, make sure that you're not, you know, make sure you have enough smoothness to it. Here we've got that base in there, and that base color that we already have is providing so much so much color and character. This is a pretty color. This is called Pear. It's such a wonderful grit. If you do a color somewhere, make sure you do it elsewhere too, so it's not just kind of like hanging out with nothing to cross-pollinate with. I love it. It's kind of like a crazy, like this weird crazy sky or garden or something in the background. I love the coral too. I think I'm going to get a little bit of that coral color. I find the Derwent ChromaFlows, well, I like a softer pencil, so keep that in mind, but I find them very easy to use, very forgiving. And like the first set of 24 that came out, I had those in my art bag all the time, and I just really loved how they worked so well over marker, and it was just a nice limited palette, so I didn't have to think too much. Yeah, I really like them. A lot of the colors are actually light fast. They released the light fast information, and I was surprised at how good some of these were. I think I prefer the Color Soft as far as a soft pencil from Derwent, just because I like the fact that the barrels are a little bit thicker, and I feel like they're less likely to break, or to have the leads break, but I really haven't run into a problem with breakage. But I could see how if you bang your pencils around, because they're soft core and they don't have really thick barrels, they could have a little bit of an issue. But so far so good, for mine anyway. This is really fun. I love playing with the background there. But anyway, you get the picture. Have fun with it. Play around, you know. Do some of these quicker sketches so that you're not so everything's not so precious, and just start playing with your values and making things brighter and darker, lighter and darker, brighter and duller, until you get the balance that you want. Now if you notice that you're doing this and you start to get like an uneven sheen when you're done, you can go ahead and give that a spray with a matte fixative or a dulling spray, or if you put it in a frame matted with glass, you're not going to see that glare because that glass is gonna kind of unify everything. So and honestly, any work on matte board, I would treat it like work on paper, which means matte it and put it behind glass or acrylic, because that's going to give you a little bit of light fast protection. It's going to give you protection from environmental elements, and paper is delicate. Even if it's been gessoed, it's still a fragile medium. So anyway, I think this is pretty good for, like, you know, under an hour in colored pencils. I had a ball. If you would like to join me on Thursday the 19th for this class over at michaels.com/classes, I would love to have you in class. We're going to experiment with backgrounds. We're going to learn some time-saving tips, and we're gonna have a ball. It's $20. And it's a live class. You will get a recording. You'll be able to ask me questions during the class. The Derwent team will be there moderating my questions. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I hope to see you there. Please give me a thumbs up if you enjoy tutorials like this on YouTube. And till next time, happy crafting. Bye.